Okay.
Hello and welcome to the IronGeek Cast, starring Adrian Crenshaw, Barry M, me, Frank Trezza, and lots of other people who will join later if they remember that the cast is still happening. How's everybody doing this week?
Could be better, could be worse.
Well, that's very non-committal. Barry, how are you? Barry is muting himself.
Yeah, I was muting the YouTube. Sorry about that. I'm doing okay. I'm staying busy. I'm just working on crypto stuff and software and systems administration.
All good stuff. I did a couple pen tests this week. I got another one I got to finish. Work has been work. I like the new place. I like Portland area. Pretty nice. Not much else going on with me though. Sorry I couldn't make the cast last week. I'm dealing with some moving related issues and just trying to track down my stuff. And I think I've done pretty well without actually having any of my stuff for quite a while now.
So your moving truck didn't arrive or what?
Yeah, I had some issues with the company I hired. They went to pick my stuff up like May 1st from New York. My friends helped them box it all up, and my friend signed the contract for me. And when they had on the contract, I had this place that said, "What's your moving date?" And my friend wrote ASAP. And when they took that contract back, and somebody then entered the data into their system, they apparently didn't have a field for ASAP, so they put TBD, which is to be determined, which means that it sat in a lot for a month with nobody moving it out here. And I called several times. The company actually hired to do this, but they had subcontracted it, and the company didn't put me in touch with the right people. They gave me this woman's home number, and she never answered it, and never gave me the business number. So I kept calling and leaving messages, and eventually she called me back. She's like, "This is the business number." Called her the business number. Eventually figured out what happened, but not after talking with them about it. And then them telling me it was going to be like another 2 weeks to a month before they even sent it out. And then I was like, that's unacceptable. You've already had it a month. It was supposed to be a 2-week drop off. And then I got a lawyer friend of mine involved, and the very next day they called me up and said, "It's on a truck on our way to you. It'll be there within a week." So there you go. Sometimes lawyers are worth having around.
Yeah.
Jason, are you making knives over there?
Yes, I'm sharpening. I'm thinning out a knife. See, I put the what's this called? Daikin steel dyer. It's just they have type with a brush, or this is just like a little ink blotter, and so I put it on there so I can see where I'm scratching. What I'm trying to do is take metal off right behind the edge right here, and not on the edge, and so I'm thinning it out so it'll cut better. This is already a very thin knife. This is like one of the only production knives you can get that are actually made like a knife anymore. And I'm using a diamond stone to do it.
And I just have cheap old knife sharpeners.
A little water on it.
I just have cheap knife sharpeners around here, but they'll probably do the job what I want. I just ordered one from, what is it, Chappelle? It looks like it said like Dave Chappelle, but it's with Chappelle.
Oh.
And it looks like it'll do the job. I'm basically putting things in my survivalist kit thing for camping and so forth. And I just ordered today a bunch of hexamine tablets, and I didn't realize that I might end up putting myself on a watch list accidentally by ordering all those.
Oh, for allergies?
No, hexamine. It's basically a
water filtration
/ fuel
stove.
Stoves and little camp stoves. But the thing is, also apparently after I ordered it, I looked up some stuff
to make meth.
Well, it's not used for making meth. You can make RDX with it, which is a high explosive.
Oh, no.
If I'm not.
And now you've looked up how to do it as well, so you're definitely.
Well, actually, I didn't look up how to do it. It just said it was a precursor, but for one of the most common ways of doing it, apparently, one of the easier ways of doing it.
All Alrighty.
I miss when kids used to be able to do backyard chemistry.
Yeah, I used to have a chemistry stat, and that's what got me into electronics. Besides my already love for computers, is my mom. She would go to thrift stores all the time because that's where I got all my clothes. And she'd bring home a game. And went home, she brought home like this. It was like looked like a regular game board, but it was a bunch of different electronics components, and it had these little springs, and you had all these wires. So all you did was hook them up, and it had a little instruction thing how to do all these different. It did like 30 different projects.
Yeah,
I remember.
So I used to play with that.
I remember Radio Shack had a bunch of things like that.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, they still have things like I got this over. Whoa, what just happened to my computer? Anyway, I got this little cheap kit over at the electronics recycler, and it's got like an Arduino in here and some breadboards and just some stuff to play with. I mean, it's got wheels for a car, but they're made out of cardboard. But I mean, you could still build stuff with it. It's neat. I got for like $10, which is not bad. I was actually very happy with this electronics recycler we got here. Jason actually introduced me to them. They, last week I spilled coffee on my laptop like a dumbass, and then I needed to get back up and running, but I didn't want to spend a fortune. And my old laptop was kind of old anyway, so I wasn't gonna buy like a new one because I don't need it till when my workstation gets here. I don't need it. So I went there and they had this laptop on their site that was like $100. And it was an i7 like 3rd gen. I used to have this exact same laptop actually a few years ago, and I just bought it. And like the battery was bad, so I just eBayed myself a battery for like another $10, and now it works great. And I'm actually using it to do this cast. I used it to do 2 pen tests this week, and started on a 3rd. I also been doing my regular like work monitoring stuff and connecting the VPN tunnels out, and it's working great. So I'm happy with it. I named it Digital Nomad. Gave it a cool name.
Nice. Yeah, you don't need a super new computer. The computers are from just 10 years ago. They work just fine for almost everything you need except for like gaming and stuff.
Right.
I noticed that some of the higher res porn, like 4K, some of the older 10-year-old computers, the 4K porn is a little bit iffy on them. It does, stall a lot. What?
Yeah, but on the smaller screens, 4K, you really can't notice the benefit of it. You know what I mean? Like 1080i, and then that's about it.
And I would agree with you. And quite frankly, there's only so much high def you need in pornography because you really need to see the pimples on someone's ass in that much depth. But all that said, they're still putting the videos out in 4K, so people rip in the highest quality they possibly can until you have these large files that don't play well.
So out here in Comcast, they have different tiers, and they have like, unless you're willing to pay like a lot like I do, you have to pay. You get like a limited amount of data you can download every month. So if you're streaming stuff in 4K, you're gonna have no data left after like a week.
When I was doing recording still, cons, I was still doing 720p just because pretty much none of the material even wants 1080p as long as they don't do something silly like put super small text on the slides and demos. 720p is usually pretty damn good. But,
Yeah, so I'm perfectly fine with 720 and up for most things. If I want to play game, the gaming thing that they've got where they stream video games to your computer from the PlayStation called PS Now, that is done over 720p and it looks fine. Can't really imagine what you need higher resolution for unless you're like, I guess 1080 does look a little crisper, but I can't really tell the difference. So
yeah,
I used to use not by sight, but whatever.
I just use smaller windows. I don't even go full screen, So I have 480. 480 is usually good for me because I just use the smaller windows. When I go full screen, I try to get at least 720. I don't have any computers right now that can go to 1080 anyways. Maybe my broken Chromebook that I'm using for a TV that works. Oh, I glued that stand on that other TV I got. I epoxied the stand, Frank. Got that fixed. It looks cool. Oh, I also got this ceramic razor blade.
Oh, cool. Could you sharpen a brick?
Because from the Ed Calvarone Ed Calveron's EDC, because these are little razor blades, and they're ceramic, so they can't be picked up by metal detectors, and they'll cut the living shit out of somebody. You can put them in your mouth and stuff. You have them on your waistband, so you have something that'll cut pretty good. Oops.
All right. So now that we've talked about how to make undetectable illegal weapons, certainly not all on different watch lists already. Let's start with the cast notes.
Well, I would like to mention, y'all were talking about bandwidth and everything else and 4K. I mean, 4K TV over a cable system. I mean, they compress the heck out of that. I mean, you do need. I mean, you have to have a fast internet connection for a lot of that stuff, and otherwise, it doesn't matter. I mean, we're talking about streaming over the internet versus playback of a Blu-ray or something like that, which, you might want some horsepower to get that 8K video or whatever you want to do. Or if you're doing rendering, and you actually have to have modern GPUs to do the 8K. And of course, it's a small fortune for the monitors too.
This is true. So I've never streamed anything at 8K. I've seen stuff at 4K. I had a 4K TV in my old apartment, but I didn't even hook it up at 4K. I think I was just hooked up to 1080 because that's what my Roku could push, and I didn't want to buy the new one. It looked perfectly fine to me. I don't
think I've seen anything in 4K either, to be honest. Maybe at a store once. They say that after a certain resolution in frames per second, that how you got motion, it doesn't motion. It looks all in slow motion because it picks up everything, unlike our eye where it blurs.
But this is even
right. It's the soap opera effect they call it. It has to do with them interlacing.
Right, exactly.
What they're doing is they're putting frames in where they don't actually have frames and making a higher frame rate if it's a lower frame rate, and it gives you this really weird kind of soap opera effect on whatever you're watching.
Yeah, I'm still at 1080p, and I need to get a new TV before long because this one's getting lines in it. But I want some of the 3D features that they don't seem to put in TVs anymore because it was kind of gimmicky at the time, but I actually got 3D content I want to watch. But yeah, this TV is having some issues. But I've noticed something even on the 1080p. I started watching old 80s horror films and such, and it's just I'm so used to watching that stuff on grainy VHS that are copies of a copy. It's just so weird to see things in high def.
Yeah,
I mean, high definition is cool. 480 and up it looks awesome.
That's like not high resolution. That's normal resolution, bro.
I know, but I'm saying compared to the VHS resolution,
I think
480 looks amazing compared to that.
I don't know. Essentially, they were just 4:3. I don't know what the resolution was.
Yeah, 4:3 is your standard definition is the 4:3. The old monitors.
Well, aspect ratio.
Aspect ratio is 4:3. The resolution is something like 480, 320 by 480. It wasn't very high res, but I did see a really cool thing on a YouTube video about resolutions, and this guy, his name is Technology Connections, I think it is, on YouTube. He does really good breakdowns of old technology and why we change things, and he broke down an old TV and how the interlacing, essentially it doesn't line by line one after another on the old TVs, but then the new ones, they do it all at once. So that's why the old TVs are better for Nintendos and stuff, because they were designed to work on those kind of TVs. And when you push them to new TVs, something just doesn't look right to a lot of people. Even though you're seeing the same picture, it was designed to be displayed line by line very quickly and refresh rate stuff.
Older TVs were all analog too. I mean, they had scan lines. If you're talking about LCD or LEDs or even gas plasmas or anything like that, it wasn't the same. I mean, you have individual pixels.
I don't do a lot with emulation, but don't a lot of those emulators nowadays have a custom software blur you can put in to make it look more like
they got filters you can put on your screen to make it look like an old TV.
Yeah, they have those. I actually have a Terminator emulator that actually will look like an old screen in Linux. It's weird. You can have the old amber or green ones, and it has the ghosting and everything. It's interesting.
Yeah. This is the dude who makes those videos I was talking about. He did a good teardown on old TV, and he just explains why technology works. He does some really cool stuff with like DVDs and different technology. I'd recommend you guys check him out. It's pretty interesting. If we're going to talk about that kind of stuff. But we do have show notes, and we have lots of stuff to talk about this week. The first thing we're going to talk about is the JBS ransomware attack. Now, if you don't know who JBS is, they're one of the largest meat meta distributors out there. So the meat distributors are then owned by like parent companies. This would be the parent company that owns a bunch of other meat distributor companies. And when these guys got hit and had to shut down operations pretty much completely, even though they were able to get stuff back up by today, I think, and restore their systems, a lot of people still lost their jobs as a result of this attack. Essentially, the slowdown in production caused them to have to lay people off because, it's just the way things are, I guess. CNN did a whole business article on this about how they're back up and running, but for some employees, it's already too late. And then it goes into a human interest story. Talks about how a single mom who works on the killing floor in one of their factories in Texas, handling beef livers and tails and intestines, after receiving text messages from her mom saying not to come to work Tuesday because of hackers that caused far more damage than they knew to their operations. The company said most of its plants.
Another U.S. company victimized by a cyber attack.
I guess we'll
One
just
of
watch
the largest
the news
meat
reports.
producers in the country,
This'll get us.
JBS USA, says its servers were attacked on Sunday. JBS is known for brands like Pilgrim.
Well, there should be fair use,
Alex
Yeah.
Marquardt,
I was
CNN
thinking that.
national security correspondent, is following this for us. So what's the impact here? Hi, guys. Well, it's not just an American company. It's a global company that is one of the biggest meat processors in the
This
world.
one
Here in
Bob
the West,
talked
they've
about
got
yesterday.
processing facilities. That do
Yeah,
chicken
that's it.
and
That's the
pork.
one.
We're not being told too much about the attack from the company itself, beyond the fact that this is what they called an organized cyber
But Tim
attack.
Pool was saying that there was a meat
Clearly
production
having an
problem
impact.
2 days
Seen
before that. There were
Facebook
articles
pages.
out, so who knows?
Well, yeah. I mean, I heard about this earlier today. I think I was on Twitter. I made a pun about it because I thought it was funny about us having beef with Russia. But I mean, we don't actually know Russia was behind this attack, but we have been seeing a really concerning trend lately. And that trend is hackers going after critical infrastructure in the United States, whether it be
Our infrastructure is getting hacked, going straight for it.
Exactly. They're going after the food. They're going after the transportation. Essentially, the means of production. They're going after that.
Is that the actual pattern, or is that the pattern we're just recognizing it? Like people get hit by ransomware all the time. Is it just that it happened to be this time? What was it? A pipeline company, and then another one being a meat company.
Right.
I don't know if there's enough of a pattern yet to say that.
Well, the thing with the pipeline company is they actually paid the ransom, even though the federal government tells you not to do that in several advisories, and they also will chastise you heavily on your taxes if you do that. But they were more interested in getting back up and running, and they just paid, which is not a good way, because you give a ransomware group $1 million, they're just going to reinvest that in infrastructure, and well, you'd think they would anyway. Maybe they'll just take the money and run. But and they're going to expand their operations. So you're just making the problem worse when you pay them. Speaking of,
I thought the group that did the pipeline attack, they got basically hammered pretty hard, though.
yeah, we didn't get to cover that, but yeah, there was a definite fallout for DarkSide after that attack.
Yeah, didn't the FBI and the GBL or GBK or GBH or GBI, whatever the fuck it's called, attack them or go after them?
Let's see what happened with DarkSide in the news recently. I don't really remember. I know that I saw stuff about them getting hacked
Or
themselves.
Interpol somebody.
Well, I know
Well,
that.
yeah, they got hacked. They did get hacked, and then there was law enforcement was on them too.
I think they had all their ill-gotten cryptos taken away from them. Also, I mean,
Oh, they lost their monies?
they lost.
I didn't hear that, Barry. That's interesting.
Well, I think the hosts of the ransomware probably went in and grabbed their stuff. So they got hacked.
Oh, the hosting company. They probably somehow got them involved. If, like,
They got the hackers the ransomware folks got hacked. Okay, by the people that they bought the ransomware from, basically.
So this article looks interesting, but it says Cyber Reason CEO told the world about dark side hacking techniques from a bomb shelter in Israel. I'm not going to read that article, but it does look interesting. Yeah, I heard something about dark side getting hacked themselves. Let's see if that's it. Anyway. We also, in today's news, we just had the MTA admit to us publicly that they were hacked a few months ago. And it was also DarkSide, same group, right? And the
MTA in New York,
yeah,
the transit authority. Wow.
Yeah. Apparently, they were able to not let anybody know for months that they had been hacked, which is impressive.
Well, most of these things they don't disclose them. Most of these hacks they don't disclose them. It's horrible. That way, nothing gets fixed ever.
Well, I mean, there are, if you're depending on the size and the type of organization, there are some legal requirements to disclose publicly if you've been breached.
Oh, really?
Where
I
you
didn't know
operate,
that.
company based, and the relative laws. But,
That's a critical infrastructure, and of course, a governmental entity too. So, they can, delay the,
Yeah, but isn't there a lot of damage done though if they don't tell people that the stuff's got hacked and the information's out there and the people don't know they've been exploited?
Right, especially if there's a data breach as a result, which is a common thing now. Now we're seeing more and more extortionware attempts than we are ransomware, where they used to be, they would encrypt your files, right? And then if you want your files back, give us money. Now it's, we've got your files, give us money or we're going to give them to the public.
Yeah, I saw that. There was that one site where they were releasing the information slowly. Like every week they release another group of files. And if you pay,
so it's not just one site. There's a lot of sites like that. A lot of ransomware groups all do that. In fact, I had a list of Tor sites for ransomware groups somewhere. I'm not sure where the heck I put it. But the TLDR of it is a lot of these ransomware groups are following the same playbook. Because, I mean, if it works, why change it? So
right.
It used to be we're gonna just steal the file. We're gonna encrypt the files. Now we're encrypting them, and we're also ransoming them back to the company, essentially saying we're gonna make this stuff public if we don't get money from you. And then if the companies refuse for either one of those two payments, even worse stuff can happen. They can not only release the files and not encrypt your local stuff, but now they'll actually look for buyers who are willing to pay for it. So they'll maybe go to a competitor of yours and be like, "Hey, we got some dirt on your competitor. Would you like to buy it from us?"
That's some real racism. That's almost like industrial espionage type stuff.
Or they'll go the Chinese if it's
well, don't the Chinese all have our data anyway? They bought it all from Facebook and Twitter and whoever else and Google
that's
and
going
Apple.
back a while. Yeah, there is some stuff with the Facebook's what's the name of that thing? Essentially, they had a third party that they would let that third party look through pretty much anybody's Facebook account and pull any data they wanted from it. And you could pull it down with, like, you did an agreement, essentially, just Cambridge Analytica. And you had to sign
Cambridge Analytica,
that you would promise to delete this data after, like, using it for your purpose. But Cambridge would pull it down and keep it, because why would you pay for it again if you already got it, right? So they would archive everybody's shit.
There's a Netflix documentary called The Big Hack, I think, something like that. Mm-hmm. And it's this left leaning progressive type stuff about how Donald Trump won the election in 2016 because of Cambridge Analytica hacking everybody's account, and that we're all going to be doomed. Just fear-mongering type stuff.
Yep, it was the Russians. Yep.
So I got a couple of comments I didn't see while I was talking earlier from Dickie and Kilo. So Dickie had wrote this one right here that people assume freedom of speech means free speech, but it just means protected and non-protected speech. And then it goes, they used to be safer to simply insure for it. So
Yeah.
ransomware insurance is a big industry. Cyber insurance.
I've never heard of it.
They don't pay out very often, but when they do, it's usually very large settlements. A lot of the time, they will sign a company full well knowing they don't meet the requirements that they claim they do, and that they might get breached, knowing that they're just not going to pay them if they get breached because they've already violated the agreement by maybe not having a firewall in place or not following best practices.
What's the
but they'll still collect the premiums from them.
what's the return for your like your cost benefit or your risk? Where like how often do these ransom groups get busted? Like people go to jail for it type stuff, or they get their money taken.
Every
How
time
often
I
does
see
that
a group
happen
getting
for
busted, it tends
successful
to be in
hacks?
other countries. I don't think I've seen too many local groups like in the United States get hacked for doing ransomware stuff. It tends to all be foreign groups.
I mean, if you were like a high schooler, would it be like an opportune career type thing?
So if I were a very tech savvy high schooler and I had no morals, right?
Right. That's what I'm saying. Exactly.
A crap ton of money. I would just do a bunch of VPSs in Russia with a freaking Russian credit card through a Russian VPN.
Right.
Or through a Ukrainian VPN. So if anything, they trace it back to the Ukraine. And I would do all my stuff remotely over like SSH or something, and like just never, ever, well, have as much segmentation as I can between that and my real life and my real world. Never use any of the same accounts. You know?
Right. Good OPSEC.
Somewhere else, and also don't hack anything in the U.S. As us Dickie says, no hacking U.S. target. So yeah, you could do that, and you probably make out like a bandit. And odds are, U.S. is not going to extradite you somewhere else if you get caught doing it. Who knows? Maybe if you like had some place in Britain and we have a good extradition treaty with them, we'd give them over. But I don't know. I'm not trying to give advice to potential cyber criminals here. I'm just
I'm just thinking hypothetically. Like, is it a thing that we're going to be seeing a lot more of because it's people are going to?
I would say
I would
say we have more technical people, right? But we actually have kind of a technical shortfall in the U.S.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
I think the thing is, a lot of people have just grown up with the technology as an everyday convenience, but at the same time, they're not necessarily using it in their day-to-day lives the way that like a hacker would. They're just using the technology. Like, they've had tablets since they were 2 years old. But if you ask them how to turn on debug mode in Android, they look at you like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
Right.
They don't have the desire to learn what's under the hood.
So
like a lot of people drive cars, but not many people are mechanics.
Where's the majority of this coming from? Russia and the Ukraine? I heard those guys were really good. They were like really sick with it. They teach it in the schools. They actually teach it in the schools and cyber security in the schools and stuff. Cyber.
I agree. So I've heard stories of actually at places in Russia where they have cyber criminals who they've caught, and rather than put them in jail, they put them in a room with a bunch of computers and a bunch of other criminals. And they're now essentially the government's bitch, and they're going to do whatever they're told, hack whatever they're told, learn from each other.
Doesn't China and North Korea do that also?
Probably. I would imagine it's probably a very successful business model. I wouldn't be surprised if we did it.
Well, I think North Korea, I think they have special divisions because, that society is highly segmented.
Right. Well, North Korea also has one public IP address. I mean, it's like,
oh wow, for the whole country.
Yeah, their structure is set up in a very odd way, and they're supposed to use the official Red Star OS, which is like the government mandated operating system.
Yeah, have you seen their Linux? That's their Linux system. They have a Linux. The state has their own Linux distribution.
Right. Everything's like native to the same IP. It's also super
That's crazy.
Yeah. And be aware that the feds, NSA, the intelligence services can monitor Tor exit nodes and even VPN server exit nodes.
Oh yeah, not only can they monitor them from upstream, right? But they also have just bought them outright. A lot of the exit nodes you're going to go through are going to be controlled by U.S. military. Particularly the Department of the Navy, which is who started the Tor project.
AP Delchi was saying that 2-3 years ago that 50% of the exit nodes were FBI, owned by the FBI. He said that a couple years ago, I remember.
right? And there was actual attack a few years ago, not even a few years ago, it was about a year ago, on the exit nodes and people using the crypto miner mixers, where they were trying to obfuscate the source of their illegal transactions by tumbling their coins. And these guys essentially set up their own exit nodes on the Tor network that would proxy those particular websites. And anytime somebody would make a transaction where they'd put their Bitcoin address and then where they were sending, essentially, they would replace the wallet address that was getting sent to with their wallet address in the proxy server. So the person would go to the site and they put in their coins and where they want them to go. And then when they hit the submit button, it would instead go to the attacker's wallet because they were transparently the site in real time and changing the address of the from to and from on the.
Is that how you become a millionaire in 2021?
I imagine they made a lot of money doing that, but that was a while ago. So next we have a bunch of stuff in here today. So the MTA in New York City was hit with ransomware. They just didn't tell anybody because they're the MTA. I mean, to be fair, the MTA takes 2 hours to tell you your train's going to be late, right?
Is that like TriMet here? Is that what that is?
No, well, the TriMet here is kind of like a lot smaller. The MTA controls the New York City buses
and the subways
and the subway. And
what about the commuter trains to like Boston or Connecticut or whatever?
That's Amtrak. But the local trains going out to Long Island are also MTA.
Okay.
And the buses on Long Island used to be MTA, but MTA outsourced that to a company called Vivaldi. And then Vivaldi screwed that contract up royally and cut a bunch of routes, violating some disability laws, and then got sued into oblivion. And then they had to give it back to the MTA, and then the MTA gives them another company.
That sounds typical. That sounds typical, doesn't it?
Yeah, what they did was they just were like, yeah, we're cutting all these routes, and they didn't do any kind of survey. It was just like ridership based, not realizing a lot of the way they did the pickups for disabled people in like wheelchairs with Able Ride was they would go and if you had to be within like 5 miles of a bus stop, if you were not within 5 miles of a bus stop, you can no longer get that service. And when they cut those lines, they also cut service to a whole bunch of poor disabled people, which meant that those people who were not taking advantage of the buses but needed that within 5 miles of a bus stop could no longer get their Able Ride, which means they could not get to work, they could not go to their doctor's appointments. Yeah, it was fun times.
Wow, that's horrible.
But you know how that ended up getting resolved? They got a whole bunch of private freaking cars picking up people like going to doctor's appointments and stuff. And it's all getting charged essentially back to the MTA, which is another reason the MTA is in the freaking hole.
Yeah, what they have here, they used to have well, they still do. They have this thing called Ride a Care or something, and they pick you up in a little mini bus, like a little mini transport bus, and with a lift and everything. Or they'd have these vans. They'd use those, or they have these medical transport where they have like it's like a private taxi company. And that was before Uber and Lyft were out. So it was kind of like an Uber thing.
Yeah. So Dickie, while we were talking about this, was telling essentially the three main threats are going to be China, Russia, and I didn't read all of them necessarily. Mexico? No, Mexico's not threatening us with cyber.
Iran.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
you never know. Mexico has the money from the cartels. They might get into information brokering, doing something.
I wouldn't be surprised if they have already got access to a lot of stuff that they shouldn't have access to. For instance, maybe the cameras on the interstates, right?
Something. The
cartels can tell when it's safe to move drugs. Yeah, I would imagine they'd probably find a way in there. The next we've got the Colonial Pipeline, right? That was a while ago. We aren't talking about infrastructure.
3 weeks ago. Right? Yeah, it was like 3 weeks ago, right?
Right, but that when that happened, it wasn't so much that the pipeline attack caused a lot of infrastructure damage to the pipeline company itself. What we later found out was they found out that they wouldn't be able to bill their customers. They could still deliver the fuel. They just had no way to bill them. So rather than give away a potential shipment of fuel for free, they announced publicly that they were shutting down all operations which led to a fuel shortage because people were like, oh, this is going to cause fuel to be short. And just like the toilet paper situation where we had more than enough toilet paper, people went and bought it all anyway, and then there was no toilet paper, which led more people to go, oh, there's no toilet paper, let me go buy toilet paper. Same thing with gas. And when that happened, we ended up in the situation we're in now, where same thing with the meat, right? So there was a slight meat shortage earlier this year because of COVID related stuff and having to close down plants. And now when this meat thing happened with this meat company butcher essentially getting hacked, this very large national butcher, I don't know what the right word for him is, but that people have panicked.
Meat
Like,
producer.
I won't be able to get meat. So they went and bought all the meat, filled up their freezers with it, and then there was no meat. And now the price of meat's going up.
Yeah.
Well, steel shortage caused it.
Steel and lumber have gone up also. I mean, but it's like what Franklin Roosevelt said after Pearl Harbor. There's nothing to fear but fear itself, There's no shortage unless you make one.
Well,
it's the panic. People are panicking. The problem is the large population is fat, lazy, stupid. They're just sheeple. About 75 to 80% of the population is just go along to get along, and it's just sad. Maybe only 40% of the population. I don't know, but it's a large part of the population, and it's problematic. And when you have the media fear mongering all the time, it's a serious issue.
Right. I mean, fear mongering and the media kind of go hand in hand. It's how they get their money. That's why even though like CNN hated Trump, they loved that Trump was bringing them a ton of views every day on their
they're super mad that he's gone. Like they don't know what to do with themselves. They don't know what to do with themselves now that he's gone.
Well, let me tell you there is a truck driver shortage and a truck repair parts shortage, and that has to do with the chip shortage.
The chip shortage is also a pain in the ass.
Yeah, well, the chip shortage.
Computers.
And so the problem is, of course, that COVID kind of reduced, it made it too expensive for owner operators, independent ones to run, and now if you can't buy certain parts that need to be replaced on your trucks, well, you can't drive. Because everything is so modern and is also made in China. And
speaking of that, this Times article actually makes a good point about China and the cyber attacks. It talks about how China's used cyber attacks as a way to advance its own economy and become a dominant global superpower. They also don't care about international copyrights, which means they are happy to go and hack a company and then steal schematics for products, build it themselves, and then try and undercut the original company. It's actually a very popular business model over there.
Well, I've been through briefings from the FBI on just that. Like, for example, they're stealing the.
I see somebody's a member of InfoGuard.
Yes, I'm a member of InfoGuard. Yes. So yeah, they're stealing our corn. Okay, and windmill technology was invented here. A lot of it, the Chinese stole the software. Some of the best software.
Mandiant is also really pissed at China because not Mandiant, sorry. Well, that's probably also accurate, but that's not what I meant to say. Monsanto is really pissed at China because they stole seeds, and really Monsanto's whole thing is they're going to patent a seed and then make it so that seed can't reproduce on its own, and then they're going to sell you that seed. And what China
they even were suing because like if one farmer had a cornfield next to another one, and the corn was pollinating and the wind blew it, they would sue because they would test the genes for the other corn, and there would be Monsanto's patent in there, and they'd sue them, and they were winning, and they finally stopped that. Yeah, they were messing up. Industrial farming is a disaster.
So Monsanto is a very evil corporation. They've actually got a private army.
They're horrible.
They bought Blackwater.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
Well, but the thing is that what the Chinese were doing, they had brought some of their genetic people over, and they were going around and trying to get, they were buying corn from a lot of the test farms and stuff like that. And so they were getting, they figured if you bought enough of their genetically modified corn and hybrid corn, that they would be able to produce a viable offspring. I mean, yeah, usually F1 hybrids don't produce the same offspring, but some of the genetic material does pass along, and it does happen.
Yeah, Dickey actually makes a good point. Monsanto's no longer around. Well, at least they were acquired by Bayer. I didn't know that. I actually heard about
Like
people going back and
Bayer,
looking at it.
like Bayer from Aspirin Bayer.
Yeah.
Wow, that's bad news. Bayer is a horrible company. Also, they
Bad
invented
news, Bayer.
heroin.
Oh, that was an excellent.
That's funny.
Is it German Bayer?
Yeah, German Bayer.
Or
Yeah.
I thought the U.S. had a division of it.
This is what's left of Monsanto over here. They call themselves cropscience.bayer.com now.
Oh, has anybody looked up the Great Reset? I posted on Facebook about the Great Reset from the World Economic Forum, the Davos group.
Send me a link. I'll add it to
I
the show
posted
notes.
that because everybody keeps not believing me about how they're trying to use COVID to reset capitalism to be equitable, which is basically socialism. Let me get it real
So
quick.
it's the thing is it's kind of like I was actually listening to a talk on YouTube about this just day before yesterday, and the thing is, let me just find the freaking talk and then look at my YouTube history. Trying to put it on screen rather than trying to remember what the hell I heard. The long and short of it, though, was you're right. They're trying to bring some capitalism-like ideas to fruition by using COVID as the excuse. Where did they put history again? Your history, your videos history. There it is on the side on the left-hand panel. So I was actually, yeah, I watch a lot of YouTube apparently.
I watch YouTube all day. That's all I do.
Yeah.
If I'm not working, I'm watching YouTube.
I like this guy Adrian Crenshaw's channel. He puts all these hacker talks.
Yeah, he's got some good stuff. He makes some good comments every once in a while.
And I heard we can't listen to him anymore though because he's been canceled.
Oh no.
Now we have to discard all the knowledge that was acquired under the title of Crenshaw because we don't like him as a person anymore.
You know, it's going to be pretty soon where if you're a criminal or you've been canceled, that it's going to be a badge of honor pretty soon.
Why do you think I'm mining crypto?
Yeah, it's a good idea. I should get a crypto rig.
So if you can get some free electricity, you can probably do pretty good crypto stuff.
Helium is the most green. It's only 9 watts. It's a proof of coverage IoT low bandwidth network.
Well, I get Brave browser gives me crypto every month just for using it. That's how I got into crypto in the first place. I would use that. I get their Brave tokens and then trade it for then switch it on Uphold on the Uphold exchange for Ethereum and Bitcoin. Yeah.
Yeah, I had about 500 in Bitcoin last week. Now it's at 550, which is decent.
Yeah. Well, crypto took a dive and then it started to come back, but it didn't go past. It didn't go down to. Yeah, exactly. Well, I just had to sell all mine because I needed the money.
Well, that was.
I'll buy it again when I get some more money.
The crypto crash or dive was a whale play. It was manipulated.
Yeah, it's all by design. Yeah, exactly. It's all by design.
As a matter of fact, regular big Wall Street investors are starting to do the play the market manipulation game.
Yeah, they are. Well, you can see it on the graphs. You can see it. It'll go up, and there'll be a little dip, and then it'll go up again, and then a little dip, and it'll go up again. You can see it on the. If you look at how much it's worth for a while. All the cryptos do it. It's like a whole. They all follow the same thing, and they're all going straight up. And if you average it out,
what they're tracking is the addresses of who is buying and selling and in what time. So like they made Bitcoin take a dump because a week before they bought a whole bunch and then they dumped it off on a Saturday night.
Yeah, they always do it on the weekends. Always on the weekends, the price goes down. It'll go up on Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday it'll go down. Then Monday it'll start creeping up again, and by Friday it'll be up there. And then on the weekends they drop it
I
again.
think that's a result of the stock market versus the
Closing,
crypto exchanges and the traders.
The exchanges closing. Yeah, probably.
And so what, they did that, and of course they bought back in and they cashed in, and so they did that a few times trying to keep the price down. And so, I mean, I think that the big whales are expecting, Bitcoin to go to 100,000 or 120,000. So
they can't. Yeah, they can't mine much more Bitcoin. It's almost done.
Well, it'll be in the 2030s when the last Bitcoin is supposedly mined.
Yeah, like 2035
Yeah, but
or
then they have the
2038
fork
or something
Bitcoin
like that.
Cash, which will probably start.
Yeah, they can always fork it again. Yeah. Well, also they can. What? Go ahead. Well, the harder it gets to mine it, don't they also do another thing where they cut it in half? It's called whatchamacallit. What's it called? Not a halving or something like that.
Well, yeah, but that's still you have they're producing more coins or they're mining the coins. As a matter of fact, helium is about to go through a halving in July. So
nice.
right when I get my helium hotspots, it's going to be halving. But
you're going to get a ton of money from that, aren't you? Isn't that going to help you out?
No, the halving won't. It'll cut the revenues down, but.
No, I know, but I'm saying if you have a bunch of it and they have it, it'll make what you had worth more money, right?
No, not exactly. They're going to do a halving every 2 years. It's a regular thing. It'll be less miner rewards, but the miner rewards have been so high that you pay off a $600 helium miner in about 10 days.
Oh, right. That's what the halving is. They make it harder to mine it every couple of years, right?
Well, that's
they make the returns. They have the returns. Yeah, exactly.
Well, the thing is, some algorithms are progressively harder. Dogecoin and other algorithms, they have no end. Like Bitcoin has an end. There's only so much you can.
Yeah, Dogecoin is open. Yeah, it doesn't have a limit on it. Isn't there another one like that? Like, isn't Monero open-ended? There's another one that's open-ended.
No, they created one called Shiba Inu. Shiba, and that one was supposed to help destroy Dogecoin.
But it didn't. But then people bought a bunch of it because Elon tweeted about it, and then
right. So it's another meme.
Elon could tweet, go and buy a bag of dog poop, and people would go and buy it because they'll buy anything he says to buy.
Well, they're not buying his stuff anymore. I mean, he's been proven to be hypocritical.
Well, they'll still buy it. Trust me, there are some fanboys out there. Right. Anything he tweets, they're buying. That's why the SEC he's in trouble again with the SEC. He was under a ruling where he's not allowed to tweet about Tesla, and then he was tweeting about Tesla again. And then
he was manipulating the market, wasn't he?
Doing what you're not supposed to do with got him in trouble with saying he was going to take Tesla private at $4.20 a share. And right. And that triggered a massive buy-in, which raised the stock price, and then he sold a bunch of his stock and then never sold it.
Can't that be like insider trading or something?
Yeah, he got fined for it, but the thing is, he's the richest man in the world. It's like, you fine him $10 million. Okay, what does he care? Well, that's like an hour's pay for him.
a lot of these stock companies, they have a SEC office in the building. I've heard. These they'll make, like, say they make $10 on a thing, they'll get fined $1. So there's no incentive for them to stop being crooked and doing all this horrible stuff. The whole thing's crooked. This whole thing is going to come crashing down. The whole system from top to bottom.
It's not insider trading. People get jail time for it. Okay, I mean, federal prison time.
See, if something is illegal, and the only penalty for it is that you'll get fined, that means it's only illegal to poor people. It means rich people.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's right. That's exactly what I'm getting at. It's exactly what I'm getting at.
So we got some more stuff to cover in the show notes here. We got ransomware on a ferry too, which is particularly interesting to me because the company I work for actually deals with maritime cybersecurity quite a bit. So the Massachusetts ferries were disrupted by a recent ransomware attack. It caused delays and disruptions to the largest ferry service in all of Massachusetts. It took place earlier today, actually, the attack. It wasn't like the MTA, where the attack took place a month ago. And the StreamYard, the authority, was the target of a ransomware attack, and they continue to work internally as well with federal, state, and local authorities to determine the extent and origin of the attack. Blah, blah, blah. Ransomware groups are making a mess of things. Yeah. This is essentially the boilerplate thing that they put in. He talks about how JBS just happened. Actually, Catalan is one of my favorite cybersecurity writers. I talk about him a lot. He actually switched from working over at ZDNet Zero Day over to the Record recently by Recorded Future. And his writing is kind of kept up, but the writing over at ZDNet Zero Day has kind of gone downhill. They have somebody else writing articles who had written a few articles previously that I'd seen, but they're just not the same quality. I think Catalan is a better writer. So I steal a lot of his stuff for the podcast because, he's good. But yeah, the Massachusetts ferries got hit, which is crazy. Like I said, they're attacking critical infrastructure. We don't know if it's China or Russia, both of them. But those are like the big two. It's usually threat attribution wise, it's either China or Russia. And then like, oh, it's also North Korea. But North Korea, really, like I think a lot of the time when they attribute stuff to North Korea, that's not really North Korea. It's like they're just giving them some props, It's like, all right. U.S. seizes 2 domains used by SVR in recent hacking campaign. So the whole concept of being able to just seize a domain is fairly new. It all happened about a year, not even a year ago now, when Microsoft set the precedent when they decided they were going to take down a large botnet, and they decided to use the law to do it. Where now there's a precedent that's been set where a company can ask for not just the domain, but also the computers and like all the resources of another company because they'd infringed upon their copyright somehow. And the way they did this was really clever. Microsoft was like, hey, they're using our source code in their command and control server. So we're going to do a DMCA on that, kind of, but a little bit more broad, like not a real DMCA takedown, but like the same concept, right? So we're going to say they're infringing on our property. We want to seize it. And the government said, sure, go seize those domains. And then they used that to take down a bunch of command and control domains. I think they were using like .NET Framework or something in their command and control server. And that's owned by Microsoft. And Microsoft said that's a violation of our end user license agreement to use our.
Oh yeah, that was a big thing a couple months ago, wasn't it?
I know. I'm just rehashing it because what we've done now.
Yeah. No, I'm saying.
I think
It was a big problem.
So yeah, the U.S. Department of Justice and FBI have now seized 2 domains abused by Russian hacking group Apt29 that had been used as part of spear phishing campaigns targeting government agencies, think tanks, consultants, and NGOs. This is the same group that was going after cybersecurity researchers by claiming they wanted to collaborate with them on projects, and then once they gave them login info to like a CRM, they would steal all their shit. Essentially trying to hack cybersecurity people, which is kind of funny. App29 is a hacker group which the White House formally linked to Russian foreign intelligence. And
is there like a web list, like a list of all the hacker groups out there that are known?
Yeah,
does anybody keep up on that?
Yeah, App29. Well, the thing is, different companies call them different things, but there's probably a correlation between the two somewhere. Like App29 is the group that was behind SolarWinds. We had different names for them throughout the time that it was going on. But like, if you just want to go by number, I think that was started by Mandiant, and then other companies use the format of 2 animals, or like a bird,
like zebra rhino or something,
like a green leopard, or well, they don't use leopard. It's a bad example, but like the panda, I think, is China. So if you heard like the group was called something panda, that would be a Chinese-based app group.
They have codes and stuff.
Interesting. But yeah, there's definitely a database somewhere of that. If anybody's got it, it'll probably be either Mandiant. Well, they're not called Mandiant anymore; they're part of FireEye, but it would be to them or like somebody else. But
Drunk
And
loot.
the big foot attribution companies would probably have that. The yards so essentially they took over the yardservice.com, the eYard service, and World Home Outlet. These are like 3 domains that were used for phishing. They took them down, they seized them, and they seized the data that was hosted on the servers. And that's another thing. It's one thing to just like do a DNS redirect and take down a site that way, but to actually go to the hosting provider and take the data physically off the VMs, that's new. So props to them for getting some bad guys out of the pool, so to speak. But still, I don't like the way that they're doing about it. Next thing, bad guys. When we're talking about bad guys, I find bad guys also like to hack bad guys. Now, I don't have an article on this, but I remember reading earlier. Essentially, one of the ransomware as a service providers, where they would resell access to their software to perform a ransomware attack on somebody. They had these guys they called them affiliates. Affiliates were essentially the people who would be the ones performing the actual ransomware attacks, and then the ransomware company itself would get the money, and then they'd pay their affiliates a large percentage, something like 60% of the actual cost that they recovered from the client. So they gave essentially somebody who's not very technical, they gave them the tools to perform ransomware attacks without the need to have the know-how. And
that reminds me of a similar thing. There was this guy that he'd rob banks, pretty much through a white collar stuff, and nobody he's never been busted. They still haven't found him, but because what he'll do is he'll go to the banks and say, look, I'll give you this amount of money back if you don't pursue this. And same with the insurance companies. And they make a deal with them, and so he makes his money off of that.
Wow.
And they still haven't found him, yeah.
That's impressive.
Well, bribery does work.
Yeah. Well, so we're talking about bad guys, right? And I don't know if you guys have ever been looking for a messenger client where you can talk on a bunch of protocols. Back in the day when I used AOL Instant Messenger and I thought I was the coolest kid in the world, I used a program called Pigeon, right? Pigeon.
Yeah, I remember Pigeon.
Pigeon was great.
Pigeon's still there. You can still use it. So
Zerodium, I can never say their name right, but they essentially buy exploits and then they resell them to nation states who want them. That's basically their business model is they're going to pay you like $2,000 for some exploit you found or that you wrote, and then they're going to resell that for like a lot more money and then keep it. That's their business model, and now they've been selling exploits for Pigeon. Why would anybody care that they're selling exploits for Pigeon? Well, apparently a lot of cyber criminals love using Pigeon because Pigeon will not only connect you to several different protocols to chat at the same time, it'll also connect you to XMPP, otherwise known as Jabber, which is where you can set up your own private chat server and then talk with your friends and install a little plugin called Off the Record. And when you have Off the Record installed and you're talking to your friends, the communication is completely end-to-end encrypted. And even if they were to get the server, they still wouldn't get your communications. So bad guys are a fan of this model. So now they're looking for and selling exploits for Pigeon itself. That way a bad guy can hack another bad guy and grab all his message history and then use that as a bad guy to do even worse things.
So it kind of does stuff like Discord does?
Yeah. So there's no honor among thieves. But what I was getting with the story I was getting to with the ransomware affiliates, right, is that one of the ransomware companies that got taken down recently, I forget which one, but the long and short of it is they didn't pay their affiliates. They just kept the money. And now the affiliates were like fighting and trying to get their money because essentially they're the ones who performed these attacks. And then the company got the money and then didn't pay them for it and then packed up shop and left. So
wow,
that there's no honor among thieves. I actually saw that in a Russian article in it was written on a Russian cybersecurity site that somebody linked me to. And I posted it on Twitter, and let's see if I can find it real quick. I'm not going to pull that up here, but I found it very, very interesting. I'm in incognito mode, so I'm not going to be able to.
Well, I do have a question. Okay, would Pigeon be able to communicate like to YouTube chats and stuff like that?
I don't think so.
I think YouTube Messenger is well, YouTube chats. Oh yeah, I think
Yeah,
they
nobody
got
uses YouTube
YouTube
Messenger.
YouTube.
Well-
There used to be a couple years ago YouTube Messenger, but they killed it. Yeah, YouTube chats. That'd be interesting if you could get that to work.
Well, the reason I bring this up, okay, so a couple of weeks ago there was a couple of the crypto mining channels that they got their 100,000 subscribers and all this stuff, and so they were having giveaways. And one thing that showed up was a couple of things that somebody in there was hacking the chat where they could type in a message once and it would show up dozens of times in the chat. And not only that, but they had so many different YouTube accounts that they repeated. So they were giving away crypto to addresses, wallet addresses, and so they set up a whole bunch of straw accounts automatically, and were putting in the same wallet addresses in the comments to see increase their odds and stuff like that. So they're really trying to rip off the
There's
giveaway.
been a lot of spammers in the YouTube chats. There's one that follows all my accounts around and comments on everything I've watched and everything I comment onto, and it's about this thing where you can hack into a Instagram account, and if you go there, you enter your information, and they hack your Instagram account instead and steal all your information. I forgot what it's called, but it's a known thing. But YouTube does absolutely nothing about it. I've flagged it at least 6 times.
Yeah, there's WhatsApp scammers and stuff like that are trying to pull that garbage. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Anyway, so that is something similar. They're scammers everywhere, and they're using technology.
accurate. But the thing I found interesting about the pigeon thing, right? Because pigeon's a pretty obscure program to most people. It's like, yeah, I remember that. I used to use it to do whatever. But like, cyber criminals are still using it, and because they're using it, exploits for it are selling for like a lot of money, and you're not going to find them on Exploit DB. Next, we got some Russian hacker who was arrested for sharing malware source code in Telegram chats. Now, some people have told me Telegram is becoming like the new dark web, because Telegram is not really monitoring or like caring what people post on it. So all sorts of groups just set up Telegram channels and dump stuff in there. I found one, I shouldn't say the name of it, but it's an Iranian threat actor that just decided to make their Telegram publicly accessible, and they share all sorts of data that they've hacked on there, as well as other stupid things they found interesting. And yes, it's in Arabic or whatever the hell language they use over there, Persian, but you can easily translate it with the use of a computer, or even there's a program on the phone you can grab called Translate Me Telegram, and then you pay for like API access, and you can translate anything on the fly, which is neat. And you can see what they're posting. And I found some really good leaks and stuff in there that they shared. Anyway, Russian authorities have detained earlier this month a popular figure on the Russian hacking scene on charges of distributing malicious software via his Telegram channel. He was raided by law enforcement in his own hometown of Velike Luki in the Zyakhiv region of eastern Russia.
Luki in the Skov region.
Whatever. He was charged the next day with Article 273, Part 2 of the Russian criminal law, and forbidding to leave town or use any electronic devices until his trial. He's going to be one of those guys who ends up in one of those places with a bunch of other people and computers and locked to a chair. He was allegedly charged for posting the source code of the Anubis banking Trojan on Freedom Fox, a Telegram channel where he would often post data leaks and malicious source code under the pretense of helping the security community. I don't think that's a pretense. I would love to have a copy of the source code to Anubis. That was a very popular Trojan back in the day. In a recent interview with Russian news site Redokva, the suspect's wife claimed the arrest was actually related to a post her husband made on December 9th of last year, where he shared the download link to the personal data of more than 300,000 COVID-19 patients registered with Moscow Department of Health. That data contained names and phone numbers and one second, please. I gotta open window.
And let Jason back in.
I gotta add him back in. I'm coming. Welcome back, Jason.
Thank you. I accidentally clicked on something. I get bored and I start clicking on things, and I accidentally clicked.
I bored you. I see
something.
how it is.
No. I get just distracted. I pay
Yeah.
attention as I start playing with the mouse and stuff.
So the TLDR here is this guy's going to jail, faced up to 5 years in prison. Some people think it's because he shared some source code in a Telegram channel. Other people think it's because he shared some COVID-19 information, essentially some privileged health information he was able to get a hold of. Either way, he's probably going to go to jail for 5 years, but will he really go to jail is the question.
Could you imagine being banned from using any electronic device? That'd be horrible.
Well, I mean, they did that to Mitnick when he first got
I
arrested.
remember that. He was one of the first guys, wasn't he, to get banned from using electronic stuff,
From
right?
doing what he called dark side hacking.
Yeah. And didn't they ban what's his name? They said he could whistle into the that was Mitnick. They said he could whistle into the phone and launch nuclear missiles or something.
No,
Ridiculous. Who was that?
Yeah, they did. They claimed he could whistle into the phone and launch a nuclear attack, which is just
They said that was Mitnick. Yeah,
and
they went after him hard.
Well,
that was horrible.
Well, what he could do is he figured out the subaudible tones of your phone calls, and what
that was Captain Crunch who figured that out.
Yeah, well,
it was Mitnick. I'm saying the prosecutor said that about Mitnick. That's what got it. They tried to do that to him.
They
got
claimed
him
that
in trouble,
Mitnick
man.
could whistle into the phone.
Whistle into the phone, yeah.
That would cause a nuclear warhead to get launched and like.
There was that one blind phone phreaker that could whistle into the phone and dial like to England or something, but he had perfect pitch.
Yeah,
that's not easy to do.
Yeah,
Kilo in the chat said it's got a bootable USB for a few Linux distros. Just trying out to get an idea of what I'm getting into before I jump in. I recommend you grab Easy to Boot. Easy to Boot is a great free open source program. You pop on your thumb drive, and once it's on there, all you got to do is drag your ISO files onto the thumb drive.
Oh yeah, that's the one you showed me.
To it.
That's where we can boot anything straight from the. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, Easy to Boot.
I gotta get that.
I used to use a lot of different programs to do this. I used to make like a single one-time use thumb drive where I'd put like a single OS on there, and I'd use Rufus to do that, right? But then if I wanted to put like a bunch on there, I would use this program called Sardu. Sardu was great, but it's also been maintained, but it's also harder to use than this. This program, all you literally need to do is once you've installed it to a thumb drive, you just drag and drop your ISOs onto the ISO folder in that thumb drive and put them in the appropriate folder. Is it a Windows thing? Is it a Linux thing? Is it whatever? And once you do that, you can multi-boot into anything very, very easily.
That way you're not wasting a whole USB stick for each ISO.
Exactly. It's great.
Easy to boot. Okay. That's a new one for me.
Download that.
I mean, I do stuff on Raspberry Pis and.
Yeah, it'd be awesome for Linux, different Linuxes.
Right, and Dicky actually makes a really good point also that you can virtualize everything. Now, if you are you're gonna virtualize instead of multi-boot, there's two main hypervisors that you're gonna want to use. The main one most people use is VMware Workstation because it works really, really well. But it costs a little bit of money, but it's very easy to crack. The next one is Oracle VirtualBox. That hypervisor is these are what are known as like desktop hypervisors, because you're already running your desktop OS and you're running the hypervisor on top of it. Normally, when we talk about a hypervisor, we're talking about a technology called like a bare metal hypervisor. You're going to install the hypervisor right onto the computer itself or the server, and that'd be like Zen or ESXi or any one of those, right? And when you do that, you essentially have your computer be on your network, and then you access it via a web browser. And then in the web browser, you can go like, hey, I want to start up a new VM. And then you can do everything you would normally do in like VMware Workstation, but you're doing it in a web browser. And you can load up your VMs there. You can configure your hardware. You can even set up virtual networks. Now the virtual
wow, that's awesome.
Cool. So with virtual networks, right, what you can do is if you want to set up like a malware lab, right, you want to set up stuff like that, you can segment this completely from your regular network, but give some machines access to it in such a way where it'll be like dual homed. There's really cool things you can do with the virtual networking built into these free virtualization technologies. If you're running Linux instead of Windows, you don't really even need to install. You can install something called KVM, and then there's a really cool front end that's web-based to KVM that you can use called.
Yeah, KVM is awesome. Also, that's a good one.
The front end that I like, it's called something Pilot. What was it? Essentially, there's this front end that you can use to manage a Linux machine completely, and I'll remember the name of it in a second. And what you do when you're in there is you can spin up VMs just like you would in the web browser section of ESXi. So
QEMU, the QEMU Machine Manager, or is that another one?
QEMU, or I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce it. I
Yeah,
always said
QEMU. Yeah,
right,
QEMU.
that's like a less powerful hypervisor. You can spin up VMs with it. It's a little bit harder to use.
Well, I use that with KVM. When I use KVM, I use.
Yeah, I mean you can use it. It's just harder to use.
Well, I'm a VMware certified, and I mean I am a hypervisor guy.
If you're a VMware guy, I found a really cool resource where you can make your own ISO files for installing ESX, and you can slipstream drivers into them. It requires you installing their Power CLI version of PowerShell on your computer, but once that's on there and you run the script, it can build you an ISO to a specific hardware set that wouldn't normally be supported by their regular install ISO. So if you want to get ESX running on, say, an Intel NUC, which I've done, you can do that, and you'll have the drivers to do it as well. Especially like the network driver. If you don't have a network driver, the thing's useless. So that's really cool. So then you can have a bare metal hypervisor that's like that big. You also, which I thought was really cool, they made a Raspberry Pi a supported operating system for ESX hypervisor now. So you can install ESX on an 8 memory gigabyte Raspberry Pi, and then have a bunch of like 1 gig VMs running at the same time on your Raspberry Pi. So if you want to learn virtualization, it's really cool. You can download it, install it onto a Raspberry Pi, learn how to use ESX, which is a very useful skill, all for a computer that costs $60 at most. So lots of fun stuff you can do with your home lab. I'm a big fan of the home lab.
The 8 gig Raspberry Pi 4B is $75, and that's at Micro Center. That's probably cheap to get them, and I got a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, I got 2 of them.
I mean, I got Kali, Kali SD disks. I got all sorts of stuff. I try to run 64-bit everything on my Raspberry Pis. Oh, I got a Desk Pi. I got a tablet, a Raspad 3 Raspberry Pi tablet now.
Nice.
So Desk Pis, running solid state drives and NVMe drives on the things and everything else.
Wow, it's amazing what you can do with mobile computing these days.
Well, the Helium hotspot miners are using the Raspberry Pi 4B 2 gigabyte compute modules.
Oh, really?
The
just
compute
to mine,
modules are badass.
Helium?
See, if you grab the compute module, right, and you grab a supported motherboard and pop that compute module in, it's gonna be your essentially your processing power and your RAM and all that stuff. But then you have more I/O than a typical Raspberry Pi, and you can put like a 2x PCI graphics card in there. And
So
I know it's only 2x, right? So
you can actually
limited, but now you've
mine
got
from a Raspberry Pi, Helium.
Now you've got a graphics card attached to a Raspberry Pi, so you can do something like, I don't know, hash cracking on a Pi.
Oh wow!
You can actually do a PCIe X2. There's an interface. I think it's a PCIe version 3 on it or something like that.
I heard it was 2x only.
It was 2 lanes, but it's I thought it was a PCIe version 3 on the Raspberry Pi 4B. I'll look it up. Yeah, I mean PCI Express version 3 has been around for years. And remember, crypto miners are using PCIe X1. Okay, as a matter of fact, I can't run more than 4 GPUs without downing it to compatibility mode PCIe version 2,
Wow,
and they're all using one lane.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Actually, rule 1 is you don't talk about Fight Club. Don't be evil used to be Google's motto, but then they changed it to do anything for money.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, they actually took that model down.
Yeah. Russian underground forums launched competition for cryptocurrency and NFT hacks. So if you guys don't already know what NFT is, a non-fungible token, it's a way where you can take an image, like say a bitmap or any kind of image file or any file really, and encode it permanently in the blockchain, but in such a way that it's hashed and only one person has the key to unhash it. So now that you've got this hashed file in the blockchain with only one person with the decryption key to it, you could say, this is art, right? You own the key to this art. This art's going to be on the internet forever. They can't take it down because it's part of the blockchain, right? Say it's in the Ethereum blockchain. It's rare it's ever going to disappear because people are probably using Ethereum for a long time. It's backed up in multiple places. Essentially, a blockchain is just a large distributed ledger system. So it's
Right.
a database distributed in tons of different places where when an update happens one place, it happens everywhere. So it's kind of impossible to take it down. So NFTs are being sold as a kind of form of art to rich people, where it's like you can buy this painting made by Banksy, but this painting only exists on the internet. Only you can see it with this particular set of software and link, right? And other people can't see it. I think it's a fad thing, but some people like it, and they sell for a lot of money. So it's a non-fungible token, right? So with NFTs and other new technologies with cryptocurrency, the Russian underground forums are launching competitions trying to find ways to exploit this and make money off of it, which is cool.
Well,
Go ahead.
I mean, and I've been reading up and looking at how would you use crypto mining to break ransomware? Same thing that they're trying to do. They're trying to break the keys to NFTs, which is basically a wallet of some kind.
Oh, dude, if they could use NFT as like a decryption key, that would be clever.
Well, no, you'd use miners. I mean, of course, like Bitcoin is still SHA-256, so it's 32-bit algorithm.
It's not easily broken, but it could be broken with enough processing power thrown at it. I read a cool article, I actually sent it to Jason not long ago, about a guy who was like, he had a bunch of hashes he wanted to crack. So he figured out the most cost-effective way to do this was to just spin up some AWS resources with an outrageously overpriced graphics card attached to it.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. That was crazy. He did it like
that.
What,
like the thing is like the equivalent of like
100.
Yeah, it's like the equivalent of 100 3080s all on one board. It costs like $20 an hour to rent it. Yeah.
Yeah, $20 an hour for it was something like that. Or
whatever it is.
$4 password because it would take 5 minutes, 10 minutes to pass to crack it.
You managed to crack the hashes with using that very, very quickly, which I thought was neat. Next, we have the SEC charges U.S. promoters for marketing alleged Bitcomet cryptocurrency Ponzi scheme. There are a lot of Ponzi schemes out there, and they, as you know, it's like there's nothing really backing this usually in a Ponzi scheme, and people are just giving more money. And when somebody wants to take money out, they just take that person's money out and give them a little bit more, which encourages that person to tell other people about it. And they're like, I made all this money. And then more people invest, but they're not actually investing all that money in anything other than hoarding the money, usually. So this cryptocurrency was doing that, essentially. There was no cryptocurrency. It was the same thing as that lady who had that cryptocurrency where it was all BS, you know.
GeoHot says almost all the cryptocurrencies are Ponzi schemes.
Well, look, all of these people who are making money in the market right now on crypto, they all know it's a pump and dump. They're not stupid. Right. They know the only reason they're making money is because other people are tossing money at it because they think it's a long-term investment strategy. They don't realize the price is extremely volatile. Most marketplaces that are attached to legitimate financial institutions will warn their customers, this is an extremely volatile currency. Don't invest your money here. But most people will be like, YOLO, because they saw a friend who made $100 on Dogecoin yesterday. So let me throw $1,000 of my hard-earned money into Bitcoin, only to have it crash and then go back up and then crash. So it's like, depending on when you buy it, if you buy it, they say buy the dip on Wall Street Bets. If you buy the dip and then it goes up, you can make a lot of money if you get out at the right time. But if you buy the dip and then it goes up and then you don't get out at the right time and then it dips lower than when you bought it, you lose a lot of money. And a lot of people
completely screwed. Yeah.
Yeah. My personal opinion is Bitcoin is one currency that's going to keep going up. It is over the long run. It's going to have a lot of fluctuation, but it'll eventually just keep going up because it's a limited supply towards the end. You can't make any more after that. And then there's just that limit that's there. How much is there?
Well, here's an issue with I see with Bitcoin. Besides the fact that it's SHA-256 algorithm, 100% of the mining ASICs, and these ASICs are not that sophisticated, by the way, are made in China. And they're not sophisticated, but they put a bunch of them on these boards, and they're very they're not power efficient and everything or anything else. So it's estimated that now China owns, or as far as the hash rate, 67% of all Bitcoin is being validated in China. So you heard about a 51% attack. Okay, all they got to do, I mean, they could fork the entire blockchain.
Interesting.
And that's what, if he starts becoming centralized, then that you get your 51% attacks.
And that, ironically enough, brings us to our next article about Asian cybercrime takedown leads to intercept of $83 million in financial theft. Police intercepted funds that were on their way to the accounts of financial fraudsters. A crackdown on financial cybercrime across Asia resulted in $83 million being sent by victims to criminals being intercepted. Interpol said last week that Operation HEI, I can't say it, HAECHII, running between September and March of 2020 and 21, focused on combating investment fraud, romance scams, money laundering linked to illegal gambling, sextortion, and voice phishing. In total, $83 million was intercepted over the course of 6 months before the victims of these scams sent all their requested funds to cybercriminals. Yeah, Asia, man. Next, we have Bluetooth bug opens the door for attackers to impersonate devices. Now, this is an attack that's been around for a while, but they're only reporting on now. Threat actors could exploit vulnerabilities in Bluetooth core and mesh specifications to impersonate devices during pairing, paving the way to man-in-the-middle attacks. Go grab a copy of NRF Connect on your Android phone if you don't already have it. You can see all the Bluetooth stuff around you and interact with it, whether it's BLE or regular Bluetooth. It's pretty cool. It also has
What's it called again?
NRF Connect.
Oh, that, yeah, you showed me that. I got that one. That's a good one.
If you're looking at NRF Connect, the newer versions of it have this cool feature where you can spoof being an endpoint that you've already observed. So what you can do is you can say spoof somebody's Bluetooth keyboard, right? And then somehow disconnect the actual Bluetooth keyboard. When the computer is looking to repair, you pretend to be that Bluetooth keyboard. Your computer will pair with your phone,
and then you just pass it
what
through.
You're doing, you can do some pretty evil things with keystroke injection if you look at some ducky scripts. Just an example, not that I would do it. Next, we have a deep analysis of the Vitter Stealer. Vitter Stealer, I didn't really read this article. I just looked at it, thought it was interesting. This was tweeted by Catalan Sampanu. He's not the author of it, though. Vitter Stealer was malware that was specialized in stealing information distributed as spam mail or cracked commercial software, keygens. Everyone's always like, why should I pay for software? I can just go get a keygen. And I'm like, you realize those are all malware, right? And like, why would somebody take the time to crack a piece of commercial software and then give away the key for free just because they're a nice person? Like, I'd say at least half the time you grab a crack, it's going to contain some kind of malware that's not even going to get picked up by your AV. run in a sandbox. Look where it reaches out to. If your program that's supposed to crack your copy of whatever software, while it's sandboxed, reaches out to some random Chinese or Russian server, guess what? You were pwned. The second you freaking ran that keygen, you were pwned. You may have got a crack the program. Hi. Who's talking?
Me.
Hi, Jason. What's up?
How's it going? Nothing. I was just saying, oops, that's you get used by doing the keygen.
Right. Remember, nothing's free. There's no such thing as a free lunch. So keygen, people get pwned by keygen. People used to get pwned trying to download stuff off Napster. I mean, for a while there,
Or
right?
just looking for a movie, you know? Like my fiance was telling me that she downloaded was looking for something like a Dave Chappelle movie. What's that movie? Half Baked. And what she downloaded was actually child porn. It was just renamed like a normal movie. She used a torrent or something. She actually got a letter from the motion picture people to stop downloading stuff.
Yeah. So Dickie's asking about what sandbox I use or what people use here. I've used Sandboxy. I think they got acquired by another company, but the older version's still available for free. It works pretty good, but I certainly wouldn't trust it for like malware analysis tasks. Falcon is a good sandbox, but it's expensive. I prefer things that are dedicated virtualization sandboxes. There's also online ones you can submit an executable to and then see what it does once you have run it. The big one I used to use was called Malwar, M-A-L-W-R. I don't know if they're around anymore, but there's also some other ones out there. I don't think I've used one in a while because I haven't been doing stuff in Userland, but Falcon Sandbox free. Let's see if there's somebody who's using that. Somebody probably set it up in the cloud.
One of the first things I do is just upload.
Yeah, CrowdStrike has one, and so does Hybrid Analysis. So if you just go to either of those, I think Hybrid Analysis I've used before. That one's good. It's free. Falcon Sandbox also good, but costs money. There you go. Those are the two I would recommend.
What about Virus Total? I mean, you're going to upload files there.
Virus Total is checking the hash, though. It's not running it.
Okay. Well, I also got Fortinet, so I can do upload to their sandbox.
Yeah, Fortinet's good. Palo Alto has some pretty good sandbox stuff built into their firewall boxes, where it actually will launch like a copy of Windows in RAM and run the executable, and then do a report, and then check it roll in real time very, very quickly. I don't know. I don't really use sandboxes that often anymore, though. I think VMware is the most popular virtualization platform. I mean, we're talking like for end users who want to virtualize something. Kali Linux, the people who make it, Offensive Security, they have a certification called OSCP. If you're not familiar with it, when you're taking your OSCP, they recommend that you use VMware Workstation, because people have had problems during the exam with Oracle VirtualBox having issues with certain parts of the VM and networking issues and things. I think both are pretty good. Like for a free product, Oracle VirtualBox is amazing, especially if you put the guest extensions in there, and then you can do all sorts of cool stuff. But if you're looking at like in terms of usability and features, VMware Workstation's better, and also like I said, easily
I've
cracked.
had hard times passing like USBs sometimes through one or the other, and I end up trying to use KVM instead, because I don't know. Each one has its own little idiosyncrasy. Some things are easier, some things are harder on them.
So with VMware Workstation, there's a cool little feature where if you plug something in that's a USB device before, you can whitelist that Mac, and then the next time you plug it into your computer, rather than having it ask if it should attach that to the computer or to the VM, it'll attach it natively to the VM.
Oh, nice.
So if you've used like a wireless card and you only use it, say, on your engagements, you bring that specific card, you plug it into your laptop on the engagement, while you've got your VM open, it automatically attaches without you even having to go through the menu and be like, yeah, click this and screw around with it. But I don't mean to be a VMware fan. I did take classes, and like that's why I use it, because it's what they taught me in school. But
Nothing wrong with that.
yeah,
Well, so I am a member of VMUG, that's VMware Users Group, and I have the Advantage subscription. So guess what? I get all of it.
no,
Nice.
I get the vSphere Enterprise. I get
Is there still a free version of VMware?
yeah. Well,
I
you
think
can
I
use
used that
VMware
before.
Player, right? And you can play VMs that people have already created. But creating your own VM in VMware Player is not very easy. VMware Workstation makes that a task a lot easier. Also, ESX is technically free. Once you install it, it's going to ask for a license key. You go to their licensing portal, and there's an option to have a license that's essentially free for anybody to use in a non-commercial setting. And that license is good for, I think, up to 6 cores associated per VM. So you could have a machine that's got 40 cores, doesn't matter. But per VM, you can only allocate 6 with that free license, which is plenty for most of the shit you're going to do anyway.
I think it's 6 sockets.
Oh, is it 6 sockets? Okay.
Yeah. So in other words, if you had 3 Dell dual Xeon servers, you could run it. I mean, that's typical, and I used to do that all the time until I got the full license. And well, not full. I mean, I'm still limited to 6 sockets, but I'm not. I can still run the full board system, and you get an evaluation license for the Enterprise Plus for 60 days, and all you got to do is just reinstall it.
Yeah, all you gotta do is wipe all your VMs, rebuild everything every 60 days.
No, you copy your VMs off and then you put them back. It's not a
Why
big
don't you
deal.
just crack it? If you're going to go through all that trouble, just grab a freaking serial number from somewhere.
No, I got a subscription. It's It's $200 a year. I had the full.
Yeah, back.
So
Keep
yeah,
talking. That's kind of like my eyes.
yeah, and and I do use VirtualBox. If I was on a laptop or something like that, and I was doing something specialty, I'd use VirtualBox because of simplicity, and but I also run Workstation on my laptop and stuff like that.
VirtualBox has a pretty good GUI interface.
I mean,
It's pretty easy to use. You just put the ISO in, start the machine, right?
and if you have Windows 10 Pro, you can run Hyper-V. You can run the Windows virtual machines, and they also Windows 10 natively supports Ubuntu right now. Some flavors of Linux. So you have plenty of virtualization options. And Windows is big on Docker. VMware is big on Kubernetes. And VMware has their own flavor of Kubernetes. So you can also run containers.
Containers are cool, but like confusing to most people.
Yeah, they are.
Didn't Caprico write do a research paper on how the security flaws of them?
Yeah. Caprico's paper essentially concluded a lot of people were exposing the Docker endpoint to the internet. And that could be taken advantage of to spin up any kind of thing you want if you can talk to it. So essentially, imagine like everything you can do in VMware, right? You want to create a new machine. You want to make it a crypto mining rig, right? All that, but imagine it in Docker instead. So it doesn't have a separate hardware abstraction layer. It's all done in user space. So you can spin up essentially little containers, and each one can do crypto mining. So say you find a really high processing power
box somewhere,
rig somewhere, and it's got open API access to Docker. He was showing that you could literally just be like, all right, well, I'm going to connect to that and spin up a bunch of XMR rigs, like 30 instances of it, just kill the CPU completely. But while it's killing that CPU so that the company can't use it for what they paid for it, you're making money on the crypto. Yeah. not necessarily Caprico, but like the bad guys. He actually also set up a bunch of honeypots and grabbed copies of the malware that was being distributed to do that.
I mean, and so what I don't understand is why would people expose their containers to the internet? I mean, if you're gonna put something in a DMZ, you want to keep that isolated from everything, and have a tunnel into it.
Right. Well, the thing is, a lot of people don't understand how the internet works, and a lot of people also who do understand how the internet works don't know how security works. So it's like that's why we see hundreds of thousands of people with RDP port 3389 exposed to the internet, and then they get hacked and they don't know how it happened. It's like you exposed RDP to the internet. It's only a matter of time until you get hacked.
Well, I'm behind a firewall. I don't forward that junk. It's all Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I got a FortiGate here. I mean, that was. I'm in the FortiGate and Palo Alto space.
Oh. I like Palo Alto's gear, to be honest. I think it's good shit. And I'm not just saying that because my brother's one of their top salesmen.
Well,
All right. Trump shuts down his blog after less than a month.
well, that's why they were nagging
No
me
way.
on the social network. I kept getting emails, sign up for Trump's new social, blah, 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 and all this stuff. No, I'm tired. I don't want to mess with that. I want my emails for my stuff, not.
Yeah, they're completely not tech savvy over there. That another thing that'll nag you to death is that My Pillow stuff. I got some stuff from My Pillow. I get like 4 emails a day.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I get so many political emails now. I made the mistake of tweeting or texting "Happy Birthday" to Trump.
Decide whether to ban Donald Trump forever.
Whoa.
The decision from its own.
I didn't realize that guy was auto talking.
And
I think you got your autoplay set on your.
I know
whatever
this
you're
browser
using.
doesn't have. I have no script, but it's not enabled when I'm in incognito mode.
Oh yeah.
I should probably enable it, but I haven't done it yet. So the TLDR of this is for about a month he had a little platform up that was saying he was going to be launching a bigger platform, and then they took down the smaller platform that was literally just like a blog. It was called From the Desk of Donald J. Trump.
Yeah.
So they took that down. Now when you go to that site, it's like a sign-up page, not a sign-up page, a contact form to like grab your contact details, probably to try and get money out of you.
that's. I mean, yeah. All but man, they all beg for money. I mean, look, I don't want to mess with that right now. I got my own problems.
It was supposed to be a temporary way for him to get his thoughts and ideas out to the public without the fake news spin. But the website is not a platform, he said.
Well, he needs to get a what do you call it? Channel a D Live or something like that, or
He needs to go into
to
business with Alex Jones.
BitChute, or start his own website, or go to Parler or BitChute or Library.
The thing with Parler
There's a
is
whole bunch of other ones.
They don't know what the hell they're doing security-wise at Parler.
No, they're horrible over there.
So some regular security researcher managed to archive the entire site using a bunch of VMs. They spun up a bunch of stuff, and all they did was just grab all the data off Parler, like all the stuff you're not even supposed to be able to get, and just scrape everything. Made a copy of it.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
and they scraped all of Parler. That was before its first shutdown, though. They grabbed about 85% after the shutdown.
Or you should go onto Locals or something. That Locals isn't that bad. That's a good platform thing.
I don't know what that is.
Locals, it's the thing that Dave Rubin and Jordan Peterson set up.
Yeah. Well, there's Rumble. That's a popular video host.
Yeah, Rumble's a good one too.
And
but that's run by the same guys, I think, that do Parler.
And I thought Parler was a modded Mastodon or something like that, kind of like Clout Hub or something.
I would not be surprised if they didn't just steal a bunch of source code from Mastodon and try and make their own shit. But the thing is, Mastodon was designed to be a decentralized platform, so you wouldn't be able to access it the same way.
Right. Well,
Just like we have that now, we now have that new .crypto extension that you can only access in certain web browsers, because it's not an official like website extension, but for $20 you can have it forever, and like Opera supports it natively, and like you can grab a plugin for Firefox. But like if you're going to run a business, you can't do it on a website that requires an extension to access it. I mean, it's not a feasible business model.
right. And by the way, I think China owns Opera. Just be aware of that.
Does China own Opera?
Yeah, Opera's Chinese run. Yeah.
I did not know that. I used to use their VPN. I figured a way to rip it out of the browser back in the day, and then I would just use it for everything and tunnel all my stuff through it, and then it stopped working. They changed all their API stuff.
There's another Vivaldi is another proprietary web browser that a lot of people use.
Yeah. I mean, I used to use Midori, but it can't render things very well anymore. Anyway, I think that's all we have for this cast in the show notes. Does anybody have anything they'd like to talk about?
Let me see. Really not that much. I mean, I've been, keeping busy. And
How's the mining coming, Barry?
well, I mean, I bought another pre-built. Now I have a 3080 besides the 30. So I got 3080, 3090, 3070s. These are NVIDIA GPUs. So I've got over 500 mega hash.
Oh man.
But I am going, and I even today I bought another pre-built 3080 because it was a good one. And
what's Helium trading at?
Right now it's about 2,700. It's gone down quite a bit.
Oh.
I mean, Bitcoin is 37,000 right now. I mean, it's kind of right now.
Ethereum is about that 27 something, 26, 25.
2,700. Yeah.
Ethereum. Let me look up see what Ethereum is. I don't think I have Ethereum. I mean, Helium on my exchange, the one I use.
I know on Facebook anyway. This guy Derek, he started a cryptocurrency called Zcash, and I bought a bunch of it recently, and I actually made a small little profit on it, which I thought was cool. Like, I know that you need that.
Yeah, I own $3.44 of crypto right now.
$3.44.
Yeah.
Put it in extremely high risk crypto.
And I made 6% 6.35% today.
Nice.
So
I just sold it all.
Oh, you sold it. So
I just sold it all.
Yeah. So you had BAT tokens, right?
Yeah, I had BAT tokens. I had Doge. I bought Doge at like 5 cents.
What did you use to buy that?
20,
like I can't buy that in Coinbase.
Go to uphold.com. Uphold.com is awesome, and you keep your own wallet. You have your own wallets. It's not like Coinbase.
I like keeping my own wallet.
Well, yeah, where it's not your wallet. You have your own wallet.
One thing I dislike about keeping my own wallet is the time it takes to sync the wallet's blockchain. Depending.
Yeah, it takes to take stuff out. Like if you want to take it out to cash, it can take 5 to 7 days if you don't use your ATM card or your debit card or your credit card.
Wait, they have a debit card that's somehow linked to your wallet? How the hell does that work?
Well, they're working on Uphold is working on getting a card that's sent out, but like Cash App has a card.
Cash App, PayPal,
they have cards, but Uphold is coming out with a card also. But I'm saying your debit card, they can send stuff to and from your debit card.
I believe Crypto.com has
and your bank accounts also, your savings and your checking.
And also a US-based BlockFi now has a Visa card for big Bitcoin and stuff like that. So there's a couple of DeFi exchanges that are now issuing credit cards, and you can get your rewards like 1.5% are rewarded in Bitcoin.
Oh yeah, they do have Helium on here. It's selling for $15.
Yeah, it went down. It was over 20 for a little while.
Oh yeah, oh, that'd be cool. I should get to pick up some of that.
Look at Akash. You need to AKASH. That's the one that's going to be Helium is a distributed IoT.
I don't have that one. I don't have that one.
Akash is brand new, and they're doing a distributed cloud.
Oh wow.
And
so different than the cloud blockchain type thing.
So if you want to mine or validate the Akash network, you would buy a Super Mini, which is actually a very powerful NVIDIA computer, and it has like a built-in GB100 graphics, Volta graphics, and stuff like that, and it comes with 24 gig of RAM, and you
so
plug
it's your own machine. It's your own machine.
You buy that, and you
mine off it,
and you get paid to run that thing. And
wow, that's awesome.
And then
I'd look into that.
And then
make sure you put it on a VLAN. Don't talk to us.
Put it on a guest VLAN, because what's going to happen is people are going to come in and take a look at it, and run. It's this distributed cloud services on these devices, but it's pretty
essentially
powerful.
Whatever they want. Hopefully, somebody doesn't spin up a Tor exit node and you get popped.
Well, it's all anonymous and everything else, so you don't know what's going on there. You can't access what somebody's doing on you. But you're
Thanks, Kilo.
That's
all right, guys. I'm gonna kill the stream. I'm gonna go cook dinner.
All right. Later, brother.
Y'all have a great night.
Later, Frank. Night.
All right.